Hey everyone, it's Nichol Spohr here today with the Spellbinders Glimmer of the Month for October 2019 called Sunset Harvest. This gorgeous collection creates these beautiful foiled outline images that can be customized with markers or other coloring mediums or left as is. I'm going to combine them with Copic Markers for some truly beautiful fall results. And I absolutely love how this turned out. I'm a huge fan of everything pumpkin, so this is super, super fun. I am going to foil the images first on some smooth white cardstock using the foil that comes in the kit. I do want to mention that while I foiled the largest pumpkin image with the others, because I kind of didn't realize there was not a coordinating die for that particular image. So there are coordinating dies for the sentiment, the individual leaves, those three individual kind of leaf images, and the individual pumpkin. There is not a coordinating die for the large pumpkin. And I'm going to share how I went about fixing that so that it doesn't really become a focal point that there isn't a coordinating die and I didn't have to fussy cut it. Anywhere that there's some overfoiling, I'm using a sand eraser. This is the Tombow Mono Sand Eraser to just remove that overfoiling, and then I'm ready to color in the images. I did skip the coloring of the large image right here, as I'm going to show you how I rearrange and position this pumpkin later. And then I will add the color to that a little later on in the video and share the individual marker colors I used to color in that image. But very fall, very deep, beautiful colors. For this pumpkin, the yellow pumpkin, I am using YR23, 24, and E57, and just working those colors over and over to get the blend that I want. Then I am going to color in the stem with E43 and E47. For the yellow leaf, I'm going to color this in with YR31, 23, and then those little individual leaves with YG 93, 97, and 99. I did this over and over for any of the little green leaves. So if you see some green leaves, I'm using these yellow-green markers, which are some of my favorites for that muted colorway. I'm going to keep working YR31 and 23 together until I get the blend that I want. In the finished card, I actually ended up foiling the three individual leaf images again because I wanted another grouping of leaves up near the sentiment to really kind of frame the round opening that I'm creating for the finished card. That smallest leaf, the one I'm going to color in with red markers, I actually foiled 3 times and then die cut with the coordinating die. I love the look of the foiled images, and you can see that you can color them in easily with alcohol ink markers with beautiful results. Our 37 and 89 were used for that small red leaf, which adds a fantastic pop of color. I know I've mentioned it many times in my videos, but in case you're here for the first time, I love adding red touches to my cards for that little pop that you see in a finished card design. Now this opening was shifted down towards the bottom, but I actually ended up not using this. I wanted it centered a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and foil my image. I did tape it in place, and then I'm going to kind of use a longer piece of Post-it tape as a guide to hold that down. So I kind of played around with placement a couple of different ways. I really didn't particularly love that first placement. So let's just take the die instead, and this is a Spellbinders die. This is the Nestabilities Scored and Pierced Circle. I was basically just looking for the shape I needed, and we're going to center it. I when all else fails, center it. I thought that looked a little bit better. It didn't make the bottom part of the card so heavy because that is where most of the foiled and colored images are going to be concentrated. So let's make sure we use a long piece of foil, or a long piece of Post-it tape, pardon me, or another low tack tape. We're going to trim our foil to size, slip that in between the paper and the glimmer plate, and then we are going to run this through our glimmer machine. So we're waiting for it to heat up here. We will run this through our die cutting machine then, once it's heated up, and it's going to glimmer the large image in the exact position we want it. Using the die really helps. I also found I wanted added interest to the background of my card. I did the same thing where I embossed the backgrounds for my large die of the month cards, which I will link to at the end of this video, but they are also a pumpkin themed set. So what I found worked best with the embossing folder here, this is the barn wall embossing folder, is to die cut the circle shape, then run the frame through the embossing folder and die cutting machine to emboss that barn wall image. Just that tiny bit of texture adds so much to the frame of this card. I'm a huge fan of the Spellbinders embossing folders as they add texture and interest to elegant or fun designs. It doesn't matter what kind of design. I just love that little bit of texture in the background. Now that we've positioned our large image where we want it to go, and we can trim that down because the panel's probably a little bigger than we actually need, but if it's not exact, I can always trim a little off the sides, which I did end up doing with this card. But let's color in this large image because it's actually going to be inside the frame, and then we are going to tuck our other autumn leaves and pumpkin and vines and things, kind of layer those. You can see I've got them laid out there on the frame up above where I'm working on this image, and then we will add additional images kind of in the upper right corner. So this is all going to be kind of down near the bottom left. We are going to add a few additional images in the upper right along with our foiled sentiment, which remember there's the die cut that comes with it. I've die cut it already, that says many thanks. And while it works fantastic with this autumn theme set, this sentiment can be used throughout the year for any kind of card with any kind of foiled images, die cut images, and stamped images. Look in your stash, and if you need a thank you card, many thanks is going to work all year round. I really love that. Makes this much more versatile where you can use that sentiment with lots of different products from your stash. Coloring in the leaves with YG 93, 97, and 99 like I did before. This is that nice little touch of green with this kind of brownish copper foil that comes in the kit. I love these colors. I definitely wanted to go muted fall, kind of those definite jewel tone type of colors. Once I have that colored, those little kind of berries, I did color with red. That's another little pop of red for the card design. And then we are ready to start putting our frame together. And it was a little too big, so I did trim it down, and then I'm just kind of positioning it. I trimmed off one side and then the other. Now my frame fell apart. And I wanted to mention this, and I left it in my video, because when you emboss it, it is kind of delicate. So my tip for you, and the reason I left it in, I would suggest putting your adhesive on the white cardstock panel and then placing your die cut embossed frame over that. And that way you're not fiddling with the embossed barn wall too much, and it's going to stay together so much better. We're going to combine the foiled mini thanks, which will pop up with foam adhesive, with a Simon Says stamp, sentiment strip gratitude that says I am thankful for you. I love sentiment strips. I love these little pre-mates, as you don't have to actually stamp anything, get any ink out or whatever. They're already ready for you. You trim them into thin strips and pop them on your card. I'm going to also pop up this strip with foam adhesive as well, just to help make it pop off of our background a little bit. Now you can see that top area is really kind of bland. And because it's so bland, I really felt like it needed some foiled foliage as well. That's where I'm going to apply, or adhere rather, the 3 leaf images. And we're going to copy exactly what we did for these down here near the bottom as far as colors. So I did not include the foiling and the coloring since it's going to be exactly the same. I popped up the pumpkin with foam adhesive, and then we're going to adhere the leaf images down here along the bottom left corner with liquid adhesive and just tuck those in. We're going to pop one of the red leaves up with foam adhesive. The other one I think I'll just adhere directly to the card base. It's just a personal preference, but I want the leaves to kind of follow that natural rounded shape of the frame. So they're just kind of coming up from each side. I love this little cluster, this little grouping. So, so pretty. You could even ink this very lightly if you wanted to before you add the frame. We're going to add this then to our card base, and it does measure 4 by 5 1/4 inches, meaning it's going to have a white border all the way around. I am going to add my other grouping of florals kind of coming up from the end of the letter Y, again following the natural shape of the round opening of the frame, and look at what a huge difference the addition of these little florals or these leaves up here makes. Really finishes off the frame, adds a lot of color, interest, so beautiful, so elegant. The final thing I'm going to do is take some Nuvo crystal drops in 4 colors and apply them throughout the design, just a scattering of drops. The 4 colors I'm using are Copper Penny, English Mustard, Autumn Red, and Auburn Pearl. Very beautiful fall-themed colors. I love the Autumn Red. It's probably my favorite red color, but it definitely is an autumn red. It goes really great with the Copic marker colors I used for my card. Just add little droplets here and there. And I did, the Auburn Pearl was the last one I chose, but it's kind of an orangey color, which really works great. It's a metallic. Then I'm going to let this sit and dry completely for probably 24 to 36 hours before trying to place this in an envelope and mail it. And there's my finished foiled card using the Spellbinders October 2019 Glimmer of the Month Club Kit called Sunset Harvest. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Spellbinders Club Kits that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.